Welcome to Talks at Jarvis. In this series, I sit down with some of the brightest minds in dentistry to hear about their businesses, their learnings, and best practices. My name is Melissa Marquez, and I've been in the dental industry for the last 20 years, helping providers and practices unlock their true potential through actionable insights. Today's webinar topic is how to make things easier, faster, and better for your front office team. We'll explore the idea of expanding your front office team without adding to the payroll, allowing your practice to continue to grow and add patients even when no one's there. We'll be focusing on the top 3 ways to streamline your front office. And our special guest today is Dr. Ryan Hungate. He's the founder and CEO of Simplifeye, Inc., a company that focuses on creating a better workflow for dental practices to increase new patients, reduce overhead, and reduce bad debt. Welcome, Dr. Ryan.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you and learn a lot more about Simplifeye. But first, I have to ask, you're a practicing orthodontist, successful practice. What led you to start up Simplifeye? What led to this?
It's funny. I think it's the same thing that a lot of doctors feel every single day, where we went through dental school and we learned all stuff to be an unbelievable clinician. And then all of a sudden, we got thrown into this small business world. And then basically what happened was we realized, oh man, I need a lot more of that business experience than they really gave me, which was absolutely nothing. In my previous life prior to dental school, actually I worked at Apple, and I was in charge of the current, actually now that you experience, Apple retail workflow. So when we got there, it was 2007, 2008. And I was responsible for the entire front of house. So it's what you actually see in the store. And it used to be just a big cluster of people, and it was really intimidating to walk in. And obviously the iPhone came out while I was there. And I had this crazy idea of kicking people out of the store to make it look more empty and look a little bit less intimidating. Obviously, so I reported to a gentleman named Ron Johnson at the time. He reported to a guy named Tim Cook, who now everybody knows. And what's crazy is they said, no, we want to create this community. I said, no, people just want to shop, get in and get out. We can create community while doing that. So we started to triage people as they'd walk in, because I was pre-med and that's all I knew how to do. And, we'd strategically route them to people who knew what they were talking about, get them sold. We would keep them all in one place. So another concept that we had that plays out a lot in the software that we build now is that we tried to keep people in one place. Moving them around was the devil because, well, they would get distracted, they'd get lost, you'd have to find them again, and only bad thoughts happen when you move around like that. So we really tried to control the entire experience. And then we found a fun thing where we would take 6 steps towards the front door with like the goodie bag, and people would get the hint and leave. So it's what you experience nowadays. And really what I took that from that is that you have to create workflows. If you don't, one will establish itself, and it's usually the opposite of what you're trying to do. So when we found Simplifeye, I was bound and determined to really try to augment and at the same time automate the entire front desk workflow. Because what we find is that we've got unbelievable people up there working, but they are always the catch-all for everything in the office. New machine in the back, well, front desk will learn it, then teach everybody. New software, they'll learn it and teach everybody. But what happens is they end up doing 5,000 things, and they can't concentrate on the main things that they need to pay attention to. The fringe problems with insurance, right? The problems with the patient, waiting too long, payment options, scheduling, heck, getting patients into the office. These are the things that they should really be focusing on. So we can take a lot of those technologies, or a lot of those things they do with technology, augment them and automate them so that we can help them focus on the patient more so than the process.
That's amazing. I mean, at Jarvis, we focus a lot on workflows in the practice too.
Yeah. And,
it's a shift for a lot of these teams to make because they're used to doing things, like you said, the established way, even if it's not the most efficient way.
Yeah.
So that's really the number one thing we wanted to talk about today. I know I mentioned top 3 items that you can do to bring efficiencies. The first one is automating those workflows and those tasks. So as I understand it, at Simplifeye, you guys do that a few different ways. The first one I'd really like to hear more about, and you mentioned it a minute ago, was payments. So how have you automated payments? What types of things do you do there? Because you think about it, every patient even insured patients are typically making some kind of payment at every visit. And then the insurance estimate isn't always accurate. So sometimes they're making more than one payment on that visit. So how have you tackled that?
Yeah, it's funny when you're a person looking outside in on the revenue cycle management of a practice. Most people would approach that like, imagine if somebody from Amazon that was experienced in that beautiful workflow they've created came and look at a doctor's office. They would have a cow, right? They would go, oh my God, what's happening? But it works for us. So the problem is that, like you said, we've got insurance involved. We don't always know the price of something, which is the weirdest thing on earth. Like to tell somebody when they ask, how much is this going to be? You can honestly say, I don't know, right? Which is just weird. You should know that price. So there's a lot of different things that you have to compensate for in that flow. So we've spent the last 2 years building out a payments platform, and we concentrated on 3 really big pieces, right? The first one is good modern hardware. It's not okay that you can walk next door to like a little boutique and they have this beautiful thing built from Square or from Clover, and it looks nice and hell, it's portable. Why do they get that hardware and our hardware looks like it got ripped out of the back of a taxi cab from 1995, right? That's not okay. So we concentrated on that first. We created this really cool piece of technology called a smile terminal, because the thing looks like it smiles at you. And it's got a good 7-inch tablet on it. You can swipe, you can chip. Half of these people don't even have chip credit cards, so they're paying extra money every single time they don't utilize that chip, which a lot of people don't know. And then on top of that, people are wanting to use things like, with their phones, like Apple Pay and Google Pay now. So we enable that. The special thing about this hardware, though, that I really like, it's portable, right? If you go to any good modern retail workflow practice, really retail location, right? Take Apple, for example. You don't have to go to a cash register anymore. Right? When was the last time in a cool modern location that you actually went to a cash register? You don't have to do that anymore. So we believe that all of those transactions should be done where you are. You can do it chairside. So the terminal is portable. The interface is all web-based. So you can use it on the desktop computer, the laptop, the tablet, or your phone right there with the patient. Keep them where they are so bad things don't happen. Right? Whether that's thinking about the price of things or thinking about insurance, whatever it might be, get it done there. So that's where we started. The second piece really comes in where, if you think about how people send bills, you said it yourself, I still get those darn paper bills from my doctor. And if you think about it, you're setting yourself up for so much failure. There's not many other bills in this world that you get that you actually have to pay via mail. Right? And a doctor's office is usually one of those. Even the telephone bill, it comes in paper, but you're on auto pay, or you can pay it by a credit card, right? Now at the doctor's office, you got to call and give your credit card number over the phone. And we wonder why people don't pay us. It's because we're making it too difficult. If we want people to pay us, make it easy, right? So one of the things that we've done is we believe that like portals on your website are a necessity. Okay, so when you can click on there, click pay now, we have that. We give that to them. But I think we should take it one step further. We believe that the payment portal should come to you. So what we've done is we've enabled text and email invoicing. Okay, so we do a deep integration with the electronic health record. And all those little invoices that every practice sends out every single month? We can convert those into texts and emails, put a special link in there so that your patient can click on that link and they're magically taken to a portal where they can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, regular credit cards, all that stuff, and they can just pay it right then and there. So we've watched people actually pay 80% faster than they usually do with paper, which makes sense. Heck, you don't have to throw a stamp on it and wait 2 weeks for it to get to the person. So it makes sense that it works. And
I don't even think I check my mail every day anymore.
No, it's only bad news in there, right? It's like, it's not Amazon where it shows up to your doorstep and everybody's happy. Like, it's Christmas every day now. It's like, when I go to my mailbox, it's no good. Usually when we go to our mailbox is when we get soft goods from Amazon. They put it in the mailbox, right? That's about it. So yeah, we have to start conforming to what everybody's used to. It's not new. That's the way we want to think about this, right? If everybody's like, oh, well, that's really state of the art. No, it's not. It's what you experience every day outside of the dental world. So why are we not conforming to it? Why are we making things harder? It's not brand new. This has been around for 20 years. So we automated that. But the big thing to focus on there is we're doing it automatically. So your front desk doesn't have to think about sending out those paper bills or pay 52 cents an envelope to send it out. We do it automatically. So the last piece that we really focused on was payment plans. And this is similar to something like Care Credit, but at the same time, we're not a third-party lender and we don't want to ever be that. So what we're focusing on is providing the tools necessary to do this for the doctor. Now, somebody might look at that and go, ooh, I don't do a lot of payment plans. Or somebody that does orthodontics, right, or clear aligners, they definitely do, right? And it works out great for them. So what we've done is we said, well, what kind of tools does Care Credit or like Lending Club or another of these third-party lenders, what do they have that the doctor doesn't, that makes them so confident? And also, what are the requirements that they have that make them get paid back? Because if you take somebody like Care Credit or Lending Club, they are really only approving people with 680 credit scores and better. And because they're so picky, they get paid back 97% of the time. Now, if you walk up to any doctor on earth and say, hey, I can give you an accounts receivable of 3%, they're going to say, hell yes. Right? And that's what you can do with this. So now it stands the fact that if I can run a soft credit check on somebody, I can give them the same tools, and now you can approve people and get paid back in a similar manner. But on top of that, not only do we need to approve people like people who are doing it intelligently, but we also have to reconcile it. So you need to tokenize credit cards, debit cards, ACH information. You need to be able to utilize technology like one we call a card updater. So if a card expires, we automatically update it and the front desk never even knew it happened, right? And we're automatically billing it every single month. We're not invoicing them to hopefully have them pay that next month. Have it auto bill, all right? There's so many procedures now that we do that we hope the patient doesn't come back for a much longer period of time. Even orthodontics, for example, it used to be we would have people back every 4 weeks. Now it's every 9 weeks. Right? Heck, with Invisalign, you could theoretically send them all their trays and never see them again till the end. So all these things are optimizing for that. We need to compensate technology for that. And on top of that, if you go anywhere, if you go to Amazon, even if you're paying your Chase credit card, if you see anything over $100, you can now do a payment plan for that. So everybody's adapting to these payment plan worlds, except for healthcare again. We need to adapt because less people are insured. They're realizing that insurance doesn't do as much as it used to for us. So now they're not even using it. So what are they going to do in between? They're just, $100 is a life-changing thing for a lot of people. $1,000 is life-changing for almost everybody. So like you were saying, even if you do have insurance, you still have this huge amount of money that you have to pay. So we need to be able to compensate and win more business because of that. Because otherwise, a lot of these direct-to-consumer brands, like these direct-to-consumer clear aligners, sleep appliances, they're going to figure out what patients want, and they're going to give them payment plans, and they're going to win the business, even though your local smaller doctor or even your DSO can obviously provide a better service. So these are the things we got to figure out.
Yeah, and I think a big reason that people have avoided payment plans in the past is because everything we do in a dental office requires some kind of follow-up, right? I mean, you send a claim out the door, you need to follow up on it. You send a statement to a patient, you typically have to follow up on it. You extract a tooth, you need to follow up and do a post-op. So there's a lot of follow-up that occurs, and that's really where we love partnering with groups like Simplifeye, because we're bringing those practices into the 21st century of how to automate these workflows and efficiencies. So on top of automating, the payment system and making sure that we come up with arrangements for patients on balances, where Jarvis can come in and help with that in conjunction with Simplifeye is automating those follow-ups. So, just like we talked about, whether you're automating within your system to make sure that someone is reaching out to set up that payment plan, or that you've set them up with some sort of payment plan that goes along with your practice management system and automates that patient's way to pay through Simplifeye, I think is just a really great compliment. And one other thought that I had is you're talking and we're thinking about these efficiencies that you gain, you're saving in the manpower and the hours and the labor cost, the overhead. That's such a big part. I mean, labor is the most expensive thing in a dental practice. And, so being able to take that time and put it towards something else, especially if the patient can pay chair side, you're going to be able to measure and specifically see that your case acceptance, especially your same day case acceptance, is rising. So all
Yeah,
these things really float all boats when you bring these efficiencies to your practice.
absolutely. No, you're absolutely right.
So the other thing we were going to talk about, so the number one thing was automating those workflows, and we've
Yeah,
shared some great ideas for that. What about automating scheduling? So
yeah,
Jarvis has launched a really incredible online scheduling that can allow patients to schedule even when you're not in the practice. Simplifeye offers scheduling as well with a little bit of a unique twist. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys do in the scheduling realm? Because we can't
of
all
course.
answer our phones, 24 hours a day. We can't be there for every single phone call that comes in. So
Mhm.
how do you guys approach this?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the 24 hours a day, because now there's a wild stat that Gartner found that 81% of consumers believe that all businesses should operate 24/7, which is insane to think about, right?
Yeah.
And what they're saying is that if I need help at a certain time, you should be available to give me help if you expect to win my business, right? Because what's happening is there's more and more people who are available at that time. And
Hmm.
now
Yeah.
because of Google and every other search engine thing out there, I can find somebody, right?
Hmm.
I'm standing here in Indianapolis right now, and it would take me 30 seconds to find somebody that will see me as a dentist at 9 p.m., right? That's that easy. So another stat that we always show is that 71% of patients book with the first person to respond, which should also worry a lot of people, but also get a lot of people really excited, because all I
Hmm.
got to do to win business anymore is be the first person to respond. That's not that hard if you think about it, because it used to be I had to have the most beautiful office. I had to have, really personable people up front. There's all those different things we got to do. I got to be actually the best doctor at clinical work, right? Now, no. You just have to respond quickly. Now, the good thing is, obviously, the thing that helps them come back is all the stuff that I just mentioned. You still need to provide an unbelievable experience, and that's what we're helping. We're just the first people to start that great experience. So what Simplifeye did is very similar to, there was probably some crazy guy back in the day running door to door saying, "Doc, I got this thing. It's called the telephone. You got to try it out. It's going to revolutionize your office." Right? And there's probably some doctor out there saying, "No, my patients walk in." Right? Well, I get it from, the mail, whatever it might be. So this is the new iteration of that. And what we've done is we found that patients have a lot of questions. So there's great things out there like direct scheduling, and everybody should have that, right? Jarvis provides it, Simplifeye provides those things. You guys, if you don't have direct scheduling that can look at your schedule live instantaneously and write to it, you need to do it, because people expect that, right? When was the last time you called an airline to make a reservation?
Hmm.
When was the last time you called a restaurant to make a reservation, right? You use Open Table. So these are the things that, once again, we're used to out in the world, but not in the medical world, because not a lot of adoption has happened. So if you make it easier, you can win. Now, what happens is while they're making those appointments, there's a lot of questions that happen. Do they take my insurance? Do
Hmm.
they see kids? Why is this doctor even cool? Right? Like all these different things that patients have because they're worried. Now, the one thing I also want to remind people is that once they get to your website, they've already made a decision to schedule with you. Nobody got there by accident. Nobody was browsing for ESPN and accidentally ended up on Hungate Dental of ManhattanBeach.com.
Hmm.
It didn't happen, right? So what happens is if they're there, you have to think about this. That means that, the average not that good of dental website still gets around 200 unique visitors every single month. So that's like 200 people walking into your digital waiting room, looking your front desk square in the eye, you saying absolutely nothing and letting them walk out. So you should think, man, if I'm getting that many people and they're not scheduling, I have a problem. And it all comes down to conversion, because you're paying all that money in search engine optimization, social media, pay-per-click ads, whatever it might be, to get them there. But you forgot one big thing, the conversion part, because you can't just answer the phone. You're praying that they call you on the phone. But hell, 40% of the time it's after hours or on the weekend. So if you're not available for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you've also got a problem. So what we've done is we've created a 24/7 live chat. Okay. We're available 24/7. And on top of that, we have 200 people chatting, speaking 8 different languages answering within 7 seconds of getting on the site itself, and answering all those questions with the ultimate goal of actually converting them into a human being to come into the practice. And what we've done is you have the option, if you'd like to, that we can also direct schedule into your backend scheduler as well. So we can see live openings there in the schedule, and we can fill those right there and then. So we represent brands perfectly. You can, if you want to call them reservations instead of appointments, we can do that. But really what we've found is that we've taken the average conversion of just a form, like take your regular old email form. Once you start that to finish, 11% of the time people finish it all the way through. That's it, which is super, which is actually best. Like that's the best in the industry. We are now at 56% conversion when we chat with somebody to making them walk through the front door of your practice, which is a game-changing effect.
Why do you think that is? I think you've shared with me before, you really look for people on your team that have certain skill sets. What can they expect from someone that's handling some of those questions that might come across from patients that need some sort of knowledge about dentistry?
Yeah, well, they're all either current or ex-front desk human beings, and which is really cool. They're located here in the U.S. We also have, obviously, we have customers in Canada, Mexico, Australia, actually, as well. And what's nice about that is that they know what you're talking about. So if you say clear correct instead of Invisalign, if you say, Strawman implants instead of a different implant company, we understand those things. And also the most up-to-date technologies out there as well. So we're able to help with all of that, answer their questions in a knowledgeable manner. And we've also built a lot of stuff into the technology. One of the cool things we can see is we can actually see what they're typing before they hit enter, which gives us the ability to answer so quickly as well. We can kind of read minds, which is kind of nice. But yeah, you definitely want somebody representing your brand. So there's chat services all over the place. Not a lot of them that do it for you. But one of the things is that, you want to make sure somebody actually understands dental, and that also it's HIPAA compliant. A lot of people might be thinking too, like, maybe I'll just set up a chat service and I'll run it myself. That's interesting. One, it's difficult to do it 24/7, right? If you did do it 24/7 at even $15 an hour, it's about $113,000 a year that you'd have to pay that person. So it's usually a non-starter there. But on top of that, even if you do successfully do it during the day, the average response time for a run live chat is 43 minutes versus 7 seconds. So you really need to pay attention to that. Imagine just letting a phone ring off the hook because you're busy all the time. It's something like that.
Okay, excellent. So just to kind of recap, the two things that we've talked about so far that can really bring efficiencies to your front office is automating those workflows. So all the follow-ups that we have to do, and then the scheduling that we've talked about. Along with the workflows goes the posting of the payments, right? The gathering of the payments versus sending out statements, all that good stuff. The third thing on our list was some of the tasks, including things like running reports, pulling together a morning huddle report or an end of day. These are areas that Jarvis really shines in, because instead of you coming in and spending time, as a front desk manager, spending time gathering up information, because you really do have to measure all these efficiencies we've been talking about. I mean, it's really important to keep an eye on, and you've mentioned a few great metrics just during this call. And at Jarvis, that's what we do. So we love being able to measure these changes that you can make in your practice. So we've talked about a few of these ways. Is there anything else from a kind of a task and workflow perspective that you feel like is really important, or that's that Simplifeye can assist with, or that's kind of next generation in the industry that people normally don't think of?
Yeah, one of the things that I think that Jarvis really knocks out of the park is, like you were saying earlier, follow-up pieces. Because, and I think the thing that really differentiates Jarvis's dashboard systems from a lot of the others out there is it's actionable. There's so many people out there that provide you numbers. Right? I think Dentrix provides 500 some possible reports you can run. Who cares? Right? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, how many people are checking five? First of all, you'd have to hire a single human being just to look at those reports. And 99% of those are worthless. And on top of that, even if they weren't worthless, right, you would have to be able to make actionable tasks from each of those that then somebody would have to go follow up on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not automated. This is something
Mm-hmm.
where Jarvis shines at, because not only do you show them numbers, but you can help them do something about it. Because it's one thing to tell somebody that they suck. It's another thing to help them, get out of that suckiness. That's the biggest thing. Or even better yet, tell them that they're great in a certain area and that they should focus on it. Because I see so many doctors out there that will look at, like, I believe that I need to do everything. Like general dentists, take for example, I should do wisdom teeth, I should do molar endo, I should do implants, I should do everything. Where really, if they were able to sit down and look at the numbers and the amount of time that they're spending on each thing and the breakdown of the, the human power that you have to put behind it, maybe you should drop 60% of that and focus on what you're good at and fast at simultaneously. You can market to that. This is the stuff that I think that Jarvis really excels at, because you can point those things out. You also brought up the morning huddle, which I believe is super important. It's funny, I think it's skipped so often, but I haven't met a single unbelievable team that doesn't do it. Just haven't done it, right? In some form, like there's automated forms that, maybe they look at the dashboard themselves and they're able to understand it. That's fine too. But at some, there's some way that you have to look at those patients, because if, Mr. Smith comes in and he's supposed to be talked to about this, this, and this, and you miss that, gone forever, right?
Yeah.
That they're out of there. And I think there's a lot of ways that we can focus on those things as well. You can also help a team kind of come together as a team and say, hey, this month we're going to focus on talking about whitening. We're going to talk about getting people back in for recalls, or scheduling them before they leave for their next appointment. Certain things like that. From the startup world, which, Jarvis and I are, and Simplifeye are still considered startups in this world, and I hope we always are, to be honest. But at the same, just because I always think it's really dynamic, I truly believe that at the end of the day, the reason that we have excelled and other people have failed is because of our teams and using technology to augment those teams. We can hire geniuses, but we need to turn those geniuses into 10Xs. And the only way we can do that is through that technology, by helping augment them along the way. So yeah, I think that more and more people should start to look at those numbers and really help people comprehend what it is. Because I think a lot of times we can say, hey, let's look at these numbers, and then we walk away.
Yeah.
Don't help them understand them. But if people can really internalize them, people like to do that. People like to understand what they're looking at. You don't have to always shove it down their throat. And I think that things like the Jarvis dashboards that you guys provide, and the actionable numbers, and then also with Simplifeye, it's this exact same thing, right? You're able to look at your metrics. One of the things that we do specifically with Amplify, we can actually put tags on advertisements. So we can strap to your Google Analytics, so that when somebody clicks on a pay-per-click ad, right, it tracks it into your website, into the chat, into the conversion. And on top of that, we can utilize, Jarvis to actually match back the patient and tell us how much that patient actually generated for your practice. Nobody, there is not a single combination on earth that can do that besides Simplifeye plus Jarvis. And when we tie those two together, a marketing team especially can say, hey, for the first time ever, that this pay-per-click ad generated $8,000.75, in production. And that's pretty darn cool.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, because, kind of the old-fashioned way of figuring out where your new patients are coming from is what your team is, again, taking time to deduce and enter into the practice management system. And a lot of times, even if we do a great job at that, it's not always accurate, because you can't really go back into that unless you're connected to it already and pulling it from Simplifeye and Jarvis. You can't really see what led to that patient making contact and scheduling with you.
All you have is those old school attribution engines. And look, I'm sure it's Jarvis uses one just as we do. We pay thousands of dollars a month for the stupid attribution engine. I'm always pissed off because I can't get the same data my dentist can get out of my software from ads that I'm trying to run. Because we're trying to do the exact same thing, where you'll see us on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. But with an attribution engine, all I can see is that this person hit 5 different ads, clicked on this thing, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they call, I'm lost. I have nothing, right? Whereas now, if they utilize the chat piece and then our matchback technology with Jarvis, they've got everything.
Absolutely. The only other thing I wanted to touch on before we share some really exciting news is the fact that sometimes there can be a little bit of resistance whether you're in a DSO or a group or a private practice, to incorporating some of these things, because it's change, and it's change for your front office team.
Yep.
Why do you think that is? And then I have my thoughts too on how this can really help you impact your results, because they're spending time once you take these items off their plate and you become more efficient.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to lay off your front office team. It just means they can spend more time doing things that do need a human touch. But in your experience, like, how have you tackled the resistance piece of it? And why do you think that's even there?
Well, I think we get to blame it on old school technologies that they're used to. That's where I always start, right? Like, because when you first trained for your electronic health record, how'd that go, right? Was it really fun, or was it miserable for like an entire 3 months, right? That's what they're thinking. And on top of that, a majority of softwares and platforms that you implement in your practice, it's also more work, right? Everybody says, oh, it'll help you, it gets you more efficient. No, right? It doesn't do that, right? Actually, it's made things more difficult. Even electronic health records actually made things more difficult. Remember how easy it was to have a chart outside of the room? I knew who it was when I walked in there. It was beautiful, right? Except now we can be more connected, so electronic health records win. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we concentrate on that. So I think the first thing you have to do to a front desk team member is really appeal to what they're talking about. So if I walk up to a front desk team member and I say, hey, check out this software, it's going to get us a ton of new patients, all they hear is more work, more work, more work, right? So you need to start focusing on how that's actually going to help them. Hey, you know how you get all those stupid phone calls that are just full of people asking you questions and hanging up on you? Yeah, you're never going to get those again. You know how like usually you have to spend forever on the phone with, Nancy, talking to her about what, how her kids are doing. Well, now you can do the scheduling instantaneously, or somebody else is going to take care of it for you, so you can concentrate on the person in front of you. I think really that's the first step, is realizing how they're internally incentivized. The next part is that I believe that practices need to start incentivizing front offices differently, because if I walk up to a doctor and I say, hey doc, I'm going to get you 50 new patients a month, they're going to say, hell yeah, let's go. Like, let's sign up for this thing tomorrow. Then I walk up to the front desk and I say, once again, 50 new patients. They're like, oh, do they make any more money off of that? Right? They don't, right? They make the exact same amount. So I think that offices need to start discovering, how do I incentivize my front desk team, or just really all team members, so that the entire practice makes more money, and at the same time they make more money. It's funny, I'm sure you guys have sales reps, I have sales reps, and we don't think of a front desk team or a hygienist or even our dentist as sales reps, right? And I hate to say it, but they are, right? They're selling you as a thought process, you as a practice. If you're bad at selling, you're not going to be able to get the good treatment that a patient needs across to them and them to accept it. So we need to start thinking about that and really incentivizing them properly, so that if they do better and the practice does better, they can actually do better. Because, most doctors will think, hey, if I get 50 new patients, I'm going to go from the Benz to the Tesla X. Like, this is going to be awesome. But really what we should do, and the way we can build our practice better, is to really give those kickbacks to the front desk to try to optimize those things. So I think the more we do that, the more acceptance you're going to get and buy into the team atmosphere as well. Because when people truly believe in your culture, like right now, if I walk out on our floor and say, guys, we've got this brand new piece of software, we're going to implement it tomorrow and it's going to work, everybody's going to be like, hell yes, let's go. Because not only do they trust what I'm saying, but they also believe that it's going to be better for the business, and they've seen the incentive program work, that it's going to be better for them in the end too.
Gosh, I love that. I think we could have a whole other conversation on how to build the right compensation plans for your practice team. And just around, just team motivation and culture in general. But I do want to finish and wrap up with a really exciting promotion. So, we partner together on different things. We have mutual clients, and we'd like to, continue to bring some of these efficiencies and this data and these awesome workflows and opportunities to more and more practices. So we've teamed up. We're going to be offering complimentary. If you go to simplifeye.com/Jarvis, you'll see a promotion where anyone has the opportunity to sign up for 30 days free of the Simplifeye live chat, plus Jarvis Lite, which gives you an introduction to what it's like to really see your data outside of the practice management system in that actionable format we were talking about. So we're super excited to offer this promotion with you. Thanks for being generous and offering this up.
Of course.
We'll post it out there where people can go learn about it at the website and hopefully sign up and really get an introduction into what these types of efficiencies can do for them.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is a real no-brainer, because what you're going to end up with at the end of the day is you're going to have a great insight to exactly what's happening. Your marketing, you're going to see if it's working. That's another big thing. If you're like, I wonder if I'm spending this $2,000 a month on this marketing stuff, it's actually happening. Well, we'll be able to show you. You know, with Jarvis and Simplifeye attached, it's truly like a pulse on your practice. And you can see what's going on. Worst case scenario, you walk away with some extra patience, insight to your practice, and that you need to go fire your marketing team, right? So like, I think this is one of those things where most of you, I can tell you this, 99% of the people that we have put this in on realize that it's not, their marketing is doing an absolutely unbelievable job. Even if you're not doing much, it's still doing a lot. And what you can do now is you can actually convert that data. So they're generating that traffic. They've created this beautiful funnel over the last 10 to 15 years. All they're waiting for, you know, to happen is for that conversion to happen. And you really will. You'll look at this and go, how did this happen? I don't know where these patients came from. And what's cool is then the next question you're going to ask is, well, did it really make a difference in my top line revenue? Did it really add more new patients? And that's when you look at the Jarvis dashboard and you go, oh, look, it actually made me $35,000. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How can we crank more out of this? Let's focus on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking this time and sharing with me a little bit more about Simplifeye and what you've learned over the years in dentistry. I think everybody has something to take away and learn from our conversation today. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.